to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. My name is Gab, and I am here with my cousin and co host.
Dylan.
And today we are talking about a movie that I have nominated as one to watch before you die. And that movie is from the year, Dylan, please.
2000.
2000. I'm shocked. I actually was expecting it to be later. The 2000 movie that some might argue was a bit ahead of its time. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? Starring George Clooney and those other two guys.
Why'd you leave that for me at the facts gap?
Okay, fine. Um, Dylan, I chose this movie, and I will tell you what, prior to this watching for the podcast, I had never seen it. But
What?
I'll tell you what I did know, and that is the soundtrack. Because, oh, brother, when this movie came out, my parents saw it and they loved it so much they bought the soundtrack. And when I was learning to drive in my dad's 2004 Cadillac CTS, this was the album that played on repeat. So much so that even after I learned to drive, when I got my own car, a Chrysler Sebring, soft top convertible, I put the album from my dad's car into my own car and listened to it on my way to high school. I love this soundtrack. I know every word to every song, and I have to be honest, it is not my preferred genre of music, but nonetheless, it is a good one. And so this was kind of a first watch for me as well. Um, so all that said, Dylan, why don't you tell the people what this movie is about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
I will, but first, a quick fun fact. Gab cannot drive without the soundtrack to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou being on, actually.
Yep, that's why I live in New York City now and do not have a car. The soundtrack is no longer in my possession, so I am cursed to public transportation.
There you go. She can ride a bike. That's about it, though, but she has to
Yeah,
hum it.
yeah, yep.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is about the journey of, oh my God, let's see if I can remember their names. Everett, Delmar, and Pete trying to escape. Well, not trying to. They very successfully escape from a prison chain gang, and they are on their way to retrieve the treasure loot from a armored car robbery that Everett tells the boys that he had done. And they will split it together when they get there. And along the way, as my brother likes to say, hijinks ensue.
Yeah, yep. I like it. Okay. Yeah, what does IMDb have to say?
It says uh, Delmar, Pete, and Everett are trying to make their way back out of a chain gang. No, I'm just kidding. In the Deep South during the 1930s, three escaped convicts search for hidden treasure while a relentless lawman pursues them. There's only two taglines, so I think that
Okay.
they kind of kept it together more.
Yeah.
They have a plan, but not a clue.
Okay.
Okay, fair. Sometimes you have to lose your way to get back home.
Meh.
They both feel a little bit generic. Like that could also have been the tagline for Homeward Bound.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Moving on. So, to give a little bit more context, how spoilery do we want to get?
I feel like you can get spoilery. Like, I don't know. Gab, I feel like we probably had this conversation before, but spoilers in general don't really bother me because I feel like it's not the same as actually experiencing it. Like, I guess I get it when it's like a cameo for the new Marvel thing, but you're going to be excited to actually see it still, aren't you? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I watched Game of Thrones really, really, really late. Like my first watch of Game of Thrones was after it had already ended. And so it kind of sucked going into Game of Thrones knowing that Jon Snow died. Obviously, I didn't know that he very quickly came back to life, and it's a very big difference watching it live and having to wait 2 years to find out that the Red Witch brings him back. But like I hate doing that to somebody where it's like it's there's such a good moment and I want you to experience it like for the first time. But all of that said, fuck you, and we don't care. If you haven't seen this movie yet, it's been 25 years. We're about to tell you what happens. So basically,
You could have just said,
Everett
here's a spoiler warning. It didn't have to be hateful.
No, no, no. I have to be hateful, Dylan. It's been
Okay.
25 years. Don't get upset with me if you haven't gotten around to seeing this movie yet. We gave you 25 years to watch it. Now we're going to tell you what happens. So, I think the most important thing that people get out of this movie, or rather out of this synopsis, is the understanding that Everett, played by a very handsome George Clooney, is chained to these two. I think I'm correct in referring to them as buffoons. How do you feel about that word?
I would call all three of them buffoons.
Okay, I
I
could
would
see
say
that.
that Everett is the most cunning linguist of them, but all three of them are buffoons. But that's an opinion, so I'll hold off on that.
Okay, okay. Well, either way, our lead, our star, is chained to these two buffoons and tells them that they are about to retrieve a treasure. And there is a lot of like this movie opens by telling you that it's basically like based on the Odyssey.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of like Odysseus lore in the film, where, there are like, what's the word for the women who sing?
The sirens.
That there are sirens, there are people saying like, kind of telling, predicting, not predicting. Oh God, I didn't do my
There's a
research.
prophecy at the
There's a
beginning.
prophecy. Thank you so much.
John Goodman's a Cyclops.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, it's very Odysseus, but essentially, what we come to find is that George Clooney is not taking these men on a journey to find a treasure that he needs to receive. He is actually taking them to win back the love of his wife, with whom he has 9 children.
I don't know. It was an ever expanding number, but all these kids
Yeah.
kept coming up to him going, Daddy.
Yeah. And she is due to marry another man, and he needs to win her back. And basically what happens on his journey there and how those two come back together. Um, if you've ever read The Odyssey, a lot of it will make you go, oh, ha ha ha. And if you haven't, I think you can still enjoy it.
Anytime it's a movie where it's really just about people on a journey, it really is just a movie of hijinks ensue. Like you
Yeah.
could say the same thing for Sex Drive. You know what I mean? The 2000s comedy, like with James Marsden, that at the end of the day, they get distracted by some things. They get back on course for the journey they think they're going on. But at the end of the day, the journey they think they were going on wasn't the actual journey at all. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
90% of these movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
You just slap some Coen Brothers prestige on it and it seems a bit more fanciful.
Yeah,
Yeah. Should we get into our opinions?
I would like that very much.
In this critic's opinion,
That's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
Now, Gab, let me ask you a question. Have you seen a lot of Coen Brothers movies in general?
Dylan, my question for you was going to be what other movies would I know from the Coen brothers? Because I know that name and I know that they're very popular, obviously. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is a Coen brothers movie. But I don't know off the top of my head any of their films.
There's a few that I really enjoy. Like Fargo is the first one that comes to my mind.
Okay, I watched the TV series of Fargo and I liked it, but I've never seen the film.
I've never seen the series. I love the movie. Raising Arizona, which is Nicolas Cage as well.
I know, I've never seen it.
Blood Simple was their first movie. I've seen that one. I don't love
Never
it as
heard of
much. Burn After Reading.
Heard of it and haven't seen it.
But they obviously have a lot of movies. I probably have already spoiled the ones that I was going to say in the facts. Oh no, there's a couple of major ones in the facts that I haven't brought up yet. So
Okay.
I'll wait and I'll let you hear those as well. But they
Okay.
are very, very storied filmmakers by this point. And so I think what I'm finding out is I guess this is kind of their only movie you've seen because I found myself comparing it to other movies of theirs because they have such a distinct, like, it's like watching an Edgar Wright movie where they have very much their own voice and their own tone
Yeah.
that you recognize, like, oh, this feels very Coen Brothers or this feels very Sam Raimi. You know what I mean? That type of
Yeah. You know what I was thinking about? Who's the guy that did Fantastic Mr. Fox?
thing. Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson. I think
Yes.
sometimes I conflate those two.
Yeah, Wes Anderson definitely has more of a like unique visual style to him than I feel like
Yeah.
the Coen Brothers specifically do. But yeah, he's another perfect example of somebody who it's like you can tell when you're watching their thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not super familiar. I truly don't even remember my parents like going to see this or talking about it. I just knew every word to every song. And when you watch something and you're like, I don't know where I'm getting these lyrics from, but it's coming out of me like I was born with this. Like when the siren starts singing, I was like, how do I know this song? How do I know every word to the song? But I really did. And so my question for you is, what did you think of the music?
I had never heard a single one of these songs before. Like there's one very famous song that they're like all singing together with the Mayor Pappy O'Daniel or whatever his name is.
Man of Constant Sorrow.
No, like a more generic one. Like,
Oh, You Are My Sunshine.
yes, like obviously I know You Are My Sunshine, but
Yeah.
obviously the song that you come away knowing the best is Man of Constant Sorrow. I'd never heard it before.
Was it stuck in your head?
It wasn't like super stuck in my head, but I was listening to it the next day at work for sure. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I think what made it really enjoyable when you're experiencing it for the first time in the movie is you're just seeing this close up of George Clooney doing, he's lip syncing the voice, but doing the voice. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, from like off right and off left, come John Turturro and Tim Blake Nelson to do their parts. And I just really liked that.
Yeah.
I like, as much as this movie is the Odyssey, it's also very Three Stooges to me.
Yes, agreed.
And I think there's something very delightful about that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
one of the things that made me laugh the most in the entire movie is when they're trying to get onto the train and they're all chained together and Everett makes it on. I believe it's Delmar just barely gets on, and then it's Pete who can't catch up, and you just see the three of them just go sliding off. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that, I enjoyed that like slapsticky humor, and I thought there'd be a good amount more of that, but there's not too much more of that. But
Yeah.
it's like it's a simple, fun movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I say that not as a deterrent or as a big endorsement, but just that is what the takeaway is. There's not a lot of huge, massive swings, I don't think. I think the biggest joke besides that I feel like there was when they do come across the sirens after their evening with the sirens where they are drunk and they become unconscious, is they believe that Pete has been turned into a frog since they find his clothes empty with a frog crawling around in them. And Delmar really just sells like Pete, like he's trying to catch this frog, like they turned him into a frog, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He does a great reading of when they do come back across Pete because he had been captured, he ends up imprisoned again. And they somehow, there's a lot of we ran into him again type of thing.
Yeah.
But they run into him in a movie theater where the two of them are just in the theater and the chain gang for some reason is getting a break where they get to be in this movie theater. And Pete's there and he's going, "Don't go for the treasure." And I don't know why. It's just the way that Tim Blake Nelson is repeating the manner of speaking back to him, but he just says, "We thought you was a toad." Like he just delivers it in such a great way.
There are so many moments like that that almost feel like the 1930s style of humor. Maybe 1930s is exaggerating, but like that Three Stooges style of humor that matches so well with the timeline of the movie, you know?
There's also, yeah, I think that it is a bit of that. I also really like George Clooney does a good job of, he's obviously doing by far the most talking. Like he's the only character who's really getting close-ups. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? John Turturro and Tim Blake Nelson are both like, they're going to be there in the wide shot, but if you're getting a close-up, it's of Clooney. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He does a great job of, they keep going to like close-ups of him just going, "We're in a tight spot." You know what I mean? He goes,
Yes.
"Damn, we're in a tight spot," And I felt
Yeah.
myself thinking of that the next day. Like it was like, you got to get this done, Dylan. Damn, I'm in a tight spot.
Yes. Me too. I've been saying that. I do really love the bit about Clooney trying to get his pomade because he wants to get his hair to look nice. And in the beginning, you're kind of like, why is this guy so obsessed with his hair? And then when you find out that he's going to see his wife, it makes a little bit more sense that he is like willing to go to the lengths that he is willing to go to get his pomade. But I just love that little callback.
I really want some Dapper Dans. Yeah, it seems
Dapper
cool.
Dans, yeah. So I think one of the things that we haven't talked about yet is when they so it can be hard in retrospect to kind of place the timeline of the events of this movie because it is like one sort of portion of the Odyssey after another. But at one point, they make it to a radio station and they're told that they'll be paid if they record a song. They say, all you got to do is sing it to the can. And so they record with this black musician that they meet. And obviously, at the time, that's like a big deal, right? That they're like a mixed race group or whatever. And later on, that guitarist is captured by the KKK and they decide that they're going to save him. And there's a little bit of like hijinks of, we're going to take these KKK guys and beat them up and put their, what would you call it? Like a uniform? A
I
garb?
guess so. Their costume.
Their costume, yeah. They're gonna put their costume on and march out there and save him. And so I think this movie has a lot of heart as it pertains to like discovering that Clooney wants to get his wife back and discovering that they want to save their black friend. And I don't know. It was heartwarming in
There's
that way.
also definitely more subtext if you're looking for it. Like, I feel bad that I can't remember his name, the guitarist, but he says the first thing he says is he was at the crossroads and he sold his soul to the devil to learn how to play the guitar.
Hmm.
And I think it's interesting. He describes the devil and he describes him as a white man, and he basically describes the sheriff that is tailing the boys the whole time.
Hmm.
And you could say that he has multiple run-ins with the devil because then he's captured by the KKK and he's about to be hanged. Then when he's playing with the Soggy Bottom Boys at the end, the guy who was with the KKK, Homer Stokes, he also is trying to get them all killed again. And then at the end, he's going to die again when he's with the Soggy Bottom Boys. You know what I mean? So there's something deeper there if you want to look into that. I don't know. I find it very interesting too how, there's this simplicity about Delmar and Pete where very close to the beginning, they go and they see this baptism going on and they get themselves baptized.
Hmm.
Would that be the word? Yeah. I was also thinking, what do you do after one of those baptisms? Are you just in your soaking wet clothes? I don't see anybody changing. There's no towels.
I I don't know, Dylan, but I think you probably have to be soggy. See what I did there?
Mm, specifically in your bottom.
Yeah.
Mm. But after that, it's Delmar is the very first one to be like, that's it. I'm done sinning. I'm going to be good from here on out. Pete says the same thing. And they each are very quickly able to like pinpoint, like, I think Pete says, I was seduced by those sirens. And therefore that's why, I'm back here in trouble with the law again, because that was my misgiving. And I think Delmar, maybe it has something to do with, maybe it's the attack on the Cyclops or something like that. I don't remember, but they
Yeah.
each had these very quick identifications of like, this is what I did wrong. Meanwhile, you sort of feel like Everett never really learns his lesson. Like,
Hmm.
there's definitely a theme in here about faith too, because
Yeah.
those two have their faith the whole time. And Totoro specifically has this moment where he is captured and they're very clearly like getting ready to hang him. And I thought I was like, oh shit, he's dead. The
Yeah.
last thing he says though is like, God forgive me what I've done or something like that. And that I think is what stops them from hanging him. And at the same time, you know, Delmar is always very interested in the politics, the religion. Politics do play a part in this too, though.
Yeah.
But at the very end, when all three of them are about to be killed with the guitarist, that's the only time we see Everett finally just, you know, give up on his ideas of advanced society and start saying, God help me. And that's when they are saved
The
by a
flood.
miracle. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's something there too. And the irony of them being saved in this flood by the casket they were supposed to be buried in.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's clearly those Coen brothers. They're good at this.
They're good.
There's
Yeah.
things to think about in there, I think.
Yeah. I do want to bring up the topic of politics because we are led to believe that the town that Everett is from, where his ex-wife lives with his 12 children, it has a new mayor running. There's the incumbent and there's a new person. And the new person seems to be an incredible candidate
He's
who
talking
is
about
very
reform.
progressive. He wants
Hmm.
reform. He seems to be very loved by the people. And I think there are a couple of times where he says, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe he doesn't say it, but you're just given the idea, that he says things that are like, does he ever get specific about what he wants with reform?
Maybe he doesn't, but they do a good
Okay.
job of. I immediately like assumed Pappy O'Daniel was a bad guy, and I'm like, this Homer
Pappy,
Stokes
yeah.
seems pretty good.
Yeah, you assume that Pappy O'Daniel is like an old racist and that this somewhat younger guy Stokes is going to be a little bit more progressive and be, a new leader in the South. And you quickly come to find, or maybe not quickly, but you come to find that Homer Stokes is actually the Grand Wizard of the KKK,
I don't
Grand
know.
Master.
Isn't it ridiculous that no, they call themselves wizards? Like,
Yeah.
what? As if you weren't ridiculous enough already with your racism, but you got to be the wizard. I'm the
Yeah,
big
the
wizard
wizard of
man.
racism. Yeah.
I'm chief wizard racist.
Also, how how funny was their little like line dance that they do as the KKK? I was like, do they really do that? Where they were like marching around like it was a flash mob doing Thriller, you
I
know?
thought that was supposed to be referencing Wizard of Oz. Like when you see the guards outside of the Wicked
The
Witch's
Wicked
tower.
Witch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doing like their oh
Yo,
we oh.
yo.
Like
Yeah.
I totally thought that's what that was.
Uh, oh, interesting. I thought maybe that was truly what like the KKK
I don't imagine
does.
the Coen
I don't
brothers
know.
went that deep undercover, but maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. Who made Black Klansman?
Like who
Oh,
directed it?
yeah, it
Isn't
was
that Spike
oh,
Lee?
it was Spike Lee, yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes Spike Lee and Wesley Snipes in my head, I can't remember who is who.
just because of the Lee.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
I was gonna say not much similar. Spike Lee would not have been a good Blade.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's fair. So, I did. So anyway, you come to find that the guy who seems to be all about reform and progressiveness in politics is actually the Grand Wizard of the KKK. And then you kind of think back and you think, okay, well, when he was talking about reform, it seems like what he was actually talking about was like reforming things to the way they used to be.
I guess that I didn't think about it that much. I don't know. I just thought he was this wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, either way, I mean, who knows? But you find that Pappy O'Daniel is actually like totally okay with black people as long as they help him win.
Yeah, he
And
don't
it's
care
kind
as
of
long
like,
as he's got your vote.
okay, that's better than I guess the alternative. Not great, but we'll take it.
I also like Pappy O'Daniel says, "I'm not trying to win single vote at a time. We mass communicating."
He does have a lot of really good lines. Um, I think this movie is like pretty heartwarming. It offers two things. It offers you a very deep look at this, powerful text, obviously, that we all read and learn about in school. But it also offers you just like a hero's journey with some hijinks. And you don't have to be very well versed on the Odyssey to appreciate it. It does help, but goddamn, Dylan, the music. And I have it on good authority that the soundtrack, and I'm sure we'll get to this in the facts, but the soundtrack did better than the movie itself.
The soundtrack was much more successful, but we'll get to that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I really was hoping for by the end, because I feel like I took note of it during the movie. There's a moment where they talk about what are you going to do with your cut of the money, which
Mhm.
he tells them it's $1.2 million or $400,000 for each of them. And their little dreams are so adorable. Pete's
Yeah.
dream is he wants to open a restaurant where he'll be the maitre d', like, and he
Yeah.
wants to, everybody will dress all fancy and call each other sir or ma'am. Like, I was like, oh, that's so sweet. That's all you want? That's it? You don't even want to just like get passive income? You want to actually work it? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Delmar just wants to win his family farm back. Like, very sweet things. And I wish we could have seen that at the end, but I feel like, do we know what happens to the two of them by the end?
No, it's a tight movie. It keeps it going.
It's really just about Everett is our main character for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of character, let's talk about George Nelson, Babyface Nelson.
Oh my God. That name has come up so many times in our household. Let's do it.
Jesus saves, but George Nelson withdraws. He is a bank robber who they come across, and probably, I guess, the first recorded case of manic depressive. Like,
Yeah.
he is having the greatest time in the world, and then after he robs that bank, he's like, "You guys can take the money." When he walked off, I was like, we see that he has dynamite strapped to himself so that he can avoid capture because nobody wants to stand next to the guy covered in dynamite. I was like, you're gonna do it. He's gonna do it right now, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought so too.
Yeah, I think I was almost a little disappointed that he did because he comes back.
One of my favorite parts is when they do finally get him and they're like marching him through the street and the lady goes, "Cow killer," because it was very disturbing when he shot that cow.
Yeah, that was not only the cow getting shot, but then we see a cow get hit by a car, and both times it was very upsetting.
Yeah, I didn't like it. So it did feel good for him to get his comeuppance because I think otherwise you kind of are sympathetic to him.
Yeah, it was a CGI cow because apparently they almost were not able to put like no animals were harmed in the making of this movie. They like had to prove it because they were so convinced that it
Wow.
might have been real.
That's crazy.
And just to give a little bit more credit to Tim Blake Nelson, John Turturro, they do some fabulous face acting in this. Like just the faces that they are making,
Yeah.
being these buffoons, as you called them. Because really, the movie could also just be like Everett and the Buffoons. Like, um,
How much do you feel like John Turturro could have been in the Birdcage instead of Hank Azaria?
John Turturro, he's one of those actors who can kind of do anything.
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 He's unbelievable. What's your favorite John Turturro role? Three, two, one.
I did more time.
Mr. Deeds.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh.
My mind went straight to the Batman. And I'm like, that can't be my favorite. I don't know. He's good at the Batman.
Who was he in the Batman?
He's Carmine Falcone.
In the one that I just saw a couple years ago with
The
Corey?
Robert Pattinson one where he's about to murder Zoe Kravitz at the end.
I vaguely remember this.
He's good. He's real good.
Okay. I like him in Mr. Deeds.
That's a great answer. Let me
Yeah.
change our socks.
Yeah. I love that movie. Okay. I do think we need to talk about Man of Constant Sorrow because the reason I decided to watch this movie was because I woke up one morning and that song just popped into my head. And I was like, oh my God, I love this song. And then I was like, wow, Corey's never seen this movie. And then I was like, I've never seen this movie. The song that the Soggy Bottom Boys sing to collect a little bit of money that ultimately makes them famous and helps them to get Pappy O'Daniel elected at the end of the movie and helps Everett get his wife back is a song that I think has similar properties to Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen, where it is
Expand.
just designed. It is a mathematical equation that is going to be hook, line, and sinker, stuck in your head to the same degree that that thing you do will get stuck in your head.
Have I told you that thing you do is on my Spotify playlist now?
How is it not? It's a great song. You doing that thing you do. It's so good. This also has that same property. It's a song that will really get stuck in your head. And it's I think that something needs to be said about how the melody that Everett, unfortunately not truly George Clooney, but Everett sings is no more important than the callbacks that the other two do, where like at the end when they sing it one last time, they start by kind of calling him to the stage by singing in their harmony in constant sorrow, and like as soon as it starts you're like, oh my God, they're gonna do it again. It's so catchy and so good.
I just love the way you describe it as though it's the Backstreet Boys like starting a song that you're like, I didn't think they were gonna do it. Like
And that's how it feels. It really does. Except not the Backstreet Boys. It would be NSYNC for me. Come on.
that's true. I apologize. It would be Backstreet Boys for me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
what else did I have? Oh, John Turturro. I was complimenting him. His yodeling is phenomenal. The faces he makes during his little yodeling ditties are
Oh,
just
yes. I was
great.
like, is that really him yodeling?
I don't think. I do have a fun fact about the singing, but I don't think John Turturro did any actual singing. But it would have been
But
cool if he
he
did do the
sells
yodeling.
it. Yeah.
One joke I did want to talk about is the children are now going by the maiden name, and
Uh-huh.
he gets to confront his wife and ask about it, and she's going by her maiden name and telling everybody that he was hit by a train. People get hit by a train all the time. The only good thing he ever did was get hit by a train. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the children ask Daddy if he has a maiden name, and it just cracked me up because so I used to work at the Internal Revenue Service. My brother worked at the Internal Revenue Service. My sister-in-law worked at the Internal Revenue Service. One of the things you have to do is high risk disclosure, where it's if somebody is potential identity theft, you have to ask them more questions than you normally would. So you have to ask them like about what jobs they had, how much did they make, your mother's maiden name. And there's a story that Zach always tells where this guy answered the maiden name and then he went, don't you want my father's maiden name too? Or something like that.
Oh my
And,
God.
like, I don't remember it exactly. Zach would be so mad if he was here right now, but I think it must have been something like, no, we don't need that. Like, you know what I mean? What are you going to say for your father's maiden name?
Oh my God. So the other day, Corey, like this light bulb goes off in his head and he goes, what was your mom's maiden name? And I went, Pollock? Like, and he was like, Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like he was expecting me to say some name he had never heard before. Um, Knowing full well that you know,
The funny thing
we
is,
are
my
related.
mother's maiden name, Gabrielle.
Go figure.
uh, oh, one last thing. Speaking of animals not being harmed in this movie, they think that Pete has been transformed into a toad. John Goodman squishes a toad, and
I
obviously
didn't like
it's
it.
not a real toad. But oh boy, no, I don't care for a toad. Like I wouldn't be like, ooh, it's a cute and cuddly toad. But he just crushes the toad in his head, and I was like, oh, I knew it wasn't Pete, but Pete.
Yeah, that was a tough moment. That was a tough moment. I didn't care for that.
Well, you really read it on Delmar too, because Delmar thinks Pete has just been crushed.
Yeah,
Poor Delmar. He was so
poor
sweet.
Delmar. Yeah, he's a good guy.
I think that's all the opinions I got.
Well, then I think we got to get to the facts.
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
Starting with our ratings on Rotten Tomatoes Tomato Meter, it's got 78%. Average rating was 7.3 out of 10, 124 fresh reviews, and 34 rotten. The audience score is 89% with an average score of 4.1 out of 5. On IMDb, it has a 7.7. The budget was $26 million. It grossed $72 million. Did you need a second?
No, 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 sorry. I'm trying to get Sally to come up here, and then a piece of cat hair flew in my
You
nose.
just got- I was like, you cool? Okay.
I'm trying to get Sally on my lap. She's just staring at me. Come up here, you little
You want to fucking pick her up?
I want it to be her decision. Come here.
That also felt like a come at me bro type thing.
I'm beating on my chest. Now she's walking away. God damn it. All right.
The critics' consensus, though not as good as the Coen brothers' classics such as Blood Simple, the delightfully loopy Oh Brother Where Art Thou is still a lot of fun. Couple of reviews from Roger Ebert. He gave it 2.5 stars. I had the sense of invention set adrift, of a series of bright ideas wondering why they had all been invited to the same film. Michael Rechtschaffen from The Hollywood Reporter, a wildly ambitious but ultimately unsatisfying goof on the Odyssey. Desson Thompson from The Washington Post, as a Coen Brothers fan, I hate to say this, but the movie's a collection of great bits and pieces rather than a complete work. And Eric Harrison from the Houston Chronicle, this is the funniest Coen Brothers movie since 1996's Fargo. Letterboxd
Not
review,
promising.
Roberto. Oh God, I have to say it quiet because my device will hear. Alexa, play Man of Constant Sorrow by the Soggy Bottom Boys.
Amen.
Alexa, don't play it.
Oh,
She heard me.
she
hears
heard?
everything.
Oh,
She hears
God.
everything. Kayla, how bad do you guys think the characters in this smell? And the answer, terribly. Do you think we were all just used to it at the time, though?
That's great.
I imagine we were all just used to it then. Yeah.
Oh, was that you asking me?
Yes, I was asking, do you think we were all
Oh.
just used to it at the time?
Oh, I thought that that was part of the letterbox review. I guess so. Although, I don't know, some of those like people in the town seemed very well washed.
In the town, yes. But the
Yeah.
three buffoons.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
no, they're
very,
gross.
very dirty. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of pomade.
No matter how much Dapper Dans you put on that, you can't put lipstick on a pig and you put Dapper Dans on a stink.
You know what we haven't talked about yet, really quickly? George Clooney's accent. What did he just decide not to?
That is very funny. I will talk about that more in the facts, which
Okay,
I'm in
thank
right now.
Okay, excited. Let's go.
Sarah, no, it's not Sarah. The letterbox name is Sawa.
Oh.
Still not sure where the brother is, but. And last one, Burn. Bitches are mad Frank Ocean hasn't put an album out in 4 years, but what about us Soggy Bottom Boys stands? Huh? We haven't got an album in 90 years and you don't see us complaining.
That's incredible. And true.
The movie was directed by Joel Cohen, who also directed Burn After Reading, No Country for Old Men, and The Big Lebowski. The screenplay was written by Joel and Ethan Cohen, who also wrote Fargo, Raising Arizona, and Barton Fink, and based on The Odyssey by Homer. It stars George Clooney, who you may know from Michael Clayton, Up in the Air, and ER, Ocean's 11, a bunch of other stiff. John Turturro as Pete Hogswallop, who you may know
Hogswallop.
from Severance. Which, have you seen Severance? I just started watching that.
No, but one of my clients told me like kind of the gist about it. Is it worth getting another fucking streaming service for?
It's not, but I didn't pay for it myself, so I was fine
Okay.
with it.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, but
We'll talk more
I'm not
about
gonna
that
do
after. Yeah.
it. Okay.
John Turturro, who you might know from Barton Fink, The Good Shepherd, Severance, and The Batman. Tim Blake Nelson as Delmar O'Donnell, who you may know from Holes, first and foremost, is the thing I think of.
Oh, who was he in Holes? I've never seen
What?
Holes.
You
Why
don't
am I
remember him in
asking?
Holes? Oh, well, then why are you asking? The
Yeah.
Ballad of Buster Scruggs and The Incredible Hulk, and he was just in Captain America Brave New World.
He was? Who was he?
Is it Captain America Brave New World or is it Captain America
Brave New World. Yeah,
Brave New World?
it's the only Marvel movie I've ever seen.
He was the leader. He's the
What's
bad
the
guy.
leader?
The bad guy behind the bad guy. He's the one who's infecting Harrison Ford.
The guy, the really ugly guy.
Yeah, I haven't even seen the movie. Yes, that guy, the green guy.
He's green. Oh yeah, he is green. That's him.
Yes.
Wow. We saw that. We saw it, and now Corey gets really upset because wait, I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it.
You could spoil it. I already spoiled it for myself.
Okay. The only Hulk I know is Harrison Ford, and he's red.
That is ironic.
Yeah. So there was this big guy at the Arnold, muscular on steroids, all painted red, walking around, and I was like, "Oh, it's the Incredible Hulk." And Corey
It's
was
the
like,
Fugitive.
"No, it's not." It's the exactly, yeah.
I didn't smash my wife. Who was I talking about next? John Goodman as the Cyclops, who you may know from Argo, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and Roseanne, and Holly Hunter as Everett's wife. I didn't write down her name, but you might know her from Raising Arizona, Succession, and of course, The Incredibles.
Oh, she's Mrs. Incredible?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
The movie was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Cinematography, which the cinematography is by Roger Deakins, who, look him up, a bunch of shit he's done. He
cinematographed a lot of movies.
He cinematographed so much cinemagraphing. Prisoners, The Batman, a bunch of other stuff. Oh, Blade Runner 2049, Skyfall 1917, No Country for Old Men. He's really, really good.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. What else? Oh, now I'm up to the fun facts.
Okay. Hit me with them.
George Clooney did attempt to do the singing for Man of Constant Sorrow.
And it went poorly.
Well, he thought it was going well, but he said, he was like, I finished and I just looked outside the booth and I could tell that nobody was excited about it. I went out there and they played it for me and it sounded like a cat being run over by a semi, but I wanted to make it as awkward as possible. So they looked at me and I went, it sounds good.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
In preparation, George Clooney sent the script to his Uncle Jack, who is from Kentucky, and he had him read the entire thing on tape recorder and used his delivery. So his accent is his Uncle Jack's that he's using.
Oh.
The only thing that's interesting is normally people don't really improvise on Coen Brothers movies, and they were saying to George Clooney, what's very interesting is you're reading our lines exactly, except you keep leaving out any hells or damns. And he goes, well, my uncle said, I don't think this is how people here talk, but I'll do it for you. And he read the entire script, but he didn't say any hells or damn. So he kept saying heck and der.
That is so funny.
Tim Blake Nelson ended up getting paid the most for the movie since he is the only one who is actually on the soundtrack.
Wow. It's really him?
Yes, he actually does some singing on, I don't even think he does it on all the songs. I think he does it on one of the songs about being in prison. I can't remember which song it was even specifically. But
like the Chain Gang song?
Yes, but his being included in like one actual song made him more money than any of them actually got paid.
I believe it.
He was also neighbors with Joel and Ethan Coen, and they actually he and his wife would hang out with the Coen brothers and their wives. And that's so when he was first approached about this, he thought he was being approached just to consult because he went to school for he majored in classics, like classic literature. So he thought they just wanted to ask him about it. And they're like, no, we want you to be in the movie.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. The soundtrack won Album of the Year at the 44th Grammys, beating India Arie's Acoustic Soul, Bob Dylan's Love and Theft, U2's All That You Can't Leave Behind, and Outkast's Stankonia.
What?
Yeah.
That is fucking bananas. Now, let me ask you this. Is that the same U2 album that Apple just put on my phone without my God-given permission?
No, way before
Okay,
then.
good. Okay, good. Wow. It is front to back an incredible album.
Yeah, and the album for the soundtrack also hit #1 on the Billboard 200 and has sold more than 8 million copies.
Yeah, I believe it.
Although Homer is given a co-writing credit on the film, Joel and Ethan Coen claim to have never read the Odyssey and are familiar with it only through cultural osmosis and film adaptations.
I don't believe that.
I do believe that.
Okay.
Tim Blake Nelson's actual singing voice is heard in the jailhouse now is the song that it's heard on.
In the jailhouse now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The song Man of Constant Sorrow was first published in 1913 by the blind Richard Burnett.
It's a real song?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was written for the movie.
No. Every one of those songs isn't written for the movie, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's sad. Now, let me ask you this. When they're recording the song, George Clooney gives a couple of looks like he's a little confused. I thought they were making up the song as they went. Is this a known song that they were like just covering as the Soggy Bottom Boys?
I don't know, but I assume that that early on, every song is a song that somebody heard from somebody else, just like every story starts out as somebody else heard a story told by somebody and put their own spin on it, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
According to Joel Coen, there was a snake catcher on the set. We hired this guy and he came to set with a golf club, and what he would do is he would look around for snakes. If he saw one, he would rope it in with the golf club and put it in a bag. I asked him what you called somebody with this profession, and he said, an idiot.
That's amazing.
I like a snake handler with a sense of humor.
Yeah, of course.
So it was the American Humane Association, which was upset with the treatment of the cow, and they usually put on a disclaimer, no animals were harmed in the making of this motion picture. After seeing a demonstration of the CGI, a digital domain of how the cow was created, they added a new, but much rarer, scenes which may appear to place an animal in jeopardy were simulated.
Wow. Is that better or worse? I guess better.
Same. A saying I've been using a lot, 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Oh, I say that all the time.
Yeah, it also sounds old-timey, doesn't it? Like, they could have said that in this movie.
I feel like I say that a lot. And hi, can you hear me? How often do you feel like I say 6 of one, half dozen of another? Okay, Corey says I never say it.
You know what's interesting? It's shorthand, even though it's significantly longer than just saying same thing.
Yeah. It is shorthand. I also feel like there's this thing, and it's probably very inherently Long Island, where if you order a dozen bagels, they give you 13. So sometimes I'm like 6 of one, half dozen of another, but if I just get the dozen, I get one free.
Well, you know that's a baker's dozen.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know.
Like,
bakers are famously bad at math.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. All right.
A Man of Constant Sorrow became such a hit that it has led to at least 5 covers of the song, including bluegrass, country, harmonica, a cappella, and even a heavy metal version.
Well, I hope I never hear the heavy metal version.
At the end, Everett's line, finding one little ring in the middle of all that water is one hell of a heroic task, is a reference to the legend of Theseus, who had to find a golden ring at the bottom of the ocean to prove he was the son of Poseidon. And the use of the name Soggy Bottom Boys for the band actually foreshadows the end of the film when the 4 band members find themselves at the soggy bottom of a lake.
Very good.
Also, the prophesizer, he foretells them at the very beginning. What is it that he says? The oracle. He tells them they'll see a cow on top of a house, and it's something that Everett just can't explain no matter what. So, once again, that goes back to, I feel like, the religious fate, destiny, such and such.
Yeah. Well, Dylan, I'm itching to know how you feel about this movie. So
that's all the heckin' darn facts I got for you. But before we get to the heckin' darn verdicts, we're going to get some heckin' darn mail out the way.
Yeah!
Mail time! When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
Before I actually do get into the mail, Gab, I will say I have listened to Man of Constant Sorrow many times now.
Isn't it so good?
It works. Okay. Let me start with Legacy Allen, who wrote in on our Lion King episode, The Ryan King. You know, I like The Lion King, I do, but it just never really struck out as my favorite Disney movie, all things told. It's probably because of my own hyperfixations, but Emperor's New Groove, Pixar's Incredibles, and Wreck-It Ralph and shit, I guess High School Musical 2 make up my Disney Mount Rushmore. I suppose that leads to the question, what is your Disney Mount Rushmore? Also, Dylan, can't believe you ran in front of my gun so many times. I ended up playing Helldivers with Legacy, Brian, and some other yappy people. and he
Aw.
murdered me many times.
Oh.
It was intentional. Gab, Disney Mount Rushmore. Do you have any?
Okay, so my first question is how many heads are on Mount Rushmore?
4.
Four? Okay, thank you. I thought, but I didn't want to embarrass myself. Okay, so I would say my Disney Mount Rushmore. Is there a particular order or no? Because we
Doesn't have
love
to
all
be
our
in
found.
order.
Okay, okay. So I would say my Disney Mount Rushmore is The Lion King,
Fair.
Mulan,
Fair. I would totally match these two so far. I wouldn't say The Incredibles because I feel like that's before Disney bought Pixar, so I
no,
don't
yeah,
count
yeah,
that.
no, 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 no. I think, oh God, this is scary because I'm trying to think back to like VHS, like 90s, but I'm also like, oh God, but they own
I can't think about
Pixar's.
things that they own though. Like I'm not thinking about Pixar, quite frankly.
Oh,
I'm
you're not
not.
thinking about Pixar. Okay.
No, like
So
I
then
wouldn't
I
say
would
Toy Story because
say
Pixar was its own thing at the time. You know what I mean?
that's where I was stuck. Okay,
Hmm.
good. Thank you for clarifying. So we have The Lion King, we have Mulan. I gotta go Hercules.
Okay, this is the first one that I disagree with you on.
I
I would
know,
put
I
Beauty
know.
and the Beast in there for sure, though.
Your Beauty and the Beast is on your Mount Rushmore?
Absolutely, bona fide classic.
Interesting. Okay. Um, and I think my final one would be oh God.
I don't recall
uh
that one.
funny. There are so many things bouncing around in my head. So let me say out loud the ones that I'm thinking of that I probably wouldn't say. Pinocchio comes to mind, but probably not. Um, the Lady and the Tramp comes to mind, but probably not.
Mhm.
The
I get it. Like all those original Disney classics, like your Cinderellas, your Snow Whites, that aren't like
yeah.
quite our generation enough that you're putting it up on your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Robin Hood. Robin Hood is great, but like
Ooh, I love that version of Robin Hood though.
I know with the fox.
Yeah.
Everybody has a crush on the fox, you know?
The Robin Hood Fox or the what's the oh my God, what's the female character in Robin Hood?
Marion?
Marion, yes.
Yeah, no, Robin Hood. Like he was hot in that movie, that cartoon fox. But I think I would probably go, oh, Jesus Christ, this is so hard. And I'm trying to think of like
I do appreciate that
this.
we agree on half of this for sure. Lion King and Mulan, lock them in.
Yeah. Um, I might have to go Peter Pan.
Interesting. I think for my fourth, I think I'm gonna go Lilo and Stitch.
That's Pixar, dude.
That is not Pixar.
Oh,
Straight Disney, motherfucker.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, I like Lilo and Stitch. We always say that Sally looks like Stitch.
Looks like Stitch?
Yeah, you got to come over and meet her in person and you'll see it. She looks like Stitch.
How sad is it that I haven't? I really do have to.
Yeah, you got to come over. I also still have your Christmas present.
I also still have your jerseys,
I need
which are
those
things that
jerseys.
people on the podcast will not understand.
Yeah, yeah. Now we're just talking shit.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what's interesting? Neither one of us said Pocahontas.
Never really in my bag. Quite frankly, I know I've seen it, but it's been so long I don't even really remember it.
The Little Mermaid, we didn't say.
Again, not quite my tempo.
Mhm.
Emperor's New Groove is on there for me, but like
Mm,
probably just misses the cut.
okay. Yeah. 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 I might go Robin Hood instead of what did I say? What was the last one I said? Peter Pan.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, fuck it. Who cares? Next.
Peter Pan. Next we have an email from Kyle, the film realist, on the replacements. First off, thank you so much for covering the replacements, as it has now completely taken over my social media algorithm, and now all I see is clips from the movie. You are welcome.
Oh, good.
Second, I was curious when you both were growing up, was there a sport that you dreamed of being a professional athlete for? Lastly, shout out to my Canadian brethren, Keanu Reeves. Truly, he is the one, Kyle Naranya. Thank
I
you
didn't
to our
know he was
Canadian
Canadian.
correspondent. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, you did.
No.
What are you talking about? You knew he was Canadian.
No, I really didn't. So I have a very short and sweet answer. Yes, I dreamed all of my life of being the first female to play for the Mets.
Well, I am certainly more realistic than you because I knew like it ain't gonna happen for me to be a professional athlete. But I literally remember I so badly wanted to be like a head coach that I bought. There was an NFL video game where they made not Madden, they made NFL head coach as a game, and it was just you making like decisions. Like that was all the game was. Like, what plays you want in your playbook? Who's gonna stay and who's gonna get cut? Do you want to watch the game? Because you're not gonna play it.
You fucking nerd.
And I loved it.
Wow. That's like Roller Coaster Tycoon for people who know they don't have athleticism.
There you go. That's exactly what it was. We got one more email from our first fan, Scotty Cameron.
Aw, Scotty.
Who the subject, I believe, is the lyrics to Circle of Life. So I'm going to give it my best. Non sigananyama bagiti baba.
Oh,
I want you to see what it looks like in writing, Gab. Could you have read this better than I did?
No.
I didn't think so. I wasn't going to sing it either. Hey, Dylan and Gab, no jigsawing this time. How did you bring Ryan Hipp to the podcast and keep him at bay? His usual level of chaos that listeners who jump on the bandwagon are familiar with is absent in your Lion King review. No imported audio from 1990s movies and Kids WB ads. What's your secret? That I have Final Cut, that I did the editing. That's my secret.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Lion King is a great movie from Disney's animation renaissance. I remember that ABC would play this movie over and over again, and I would always watch it as a kid. Mufasa and Simba have a great father-son dynamic, which ends in tragedy. Pumbaa and Timon are fun and create an earworm. Scar, is a great villain. Jeremy Irons played Alfred in Batman v Superman. You ever see it, Gab?
No, sir.
I did not think you would. I will say I can't help but to think of high school because there was a guy in the halls who would constantly sing the Circle of Life song in the hallways, which would range from neat to annoying. It's neat to see someone who can sing an iconic song and understand the lyrics, but it's also annoying when every time you're in the hallways, you know this guy's coming because around the corner you can hear, I'm not going to try to get nods. There you go.
Embarrassing.
Thank you from the distance. It's like, okay, we get it. You like the song. You shouldn't have to sing it 24/7. Please shut the fuck up. Anyway, Lion King is a great movie. Since I finished writing this after the Replacements episode, I will just say I haven't seen that movie, but it strikes me as a Remember the Titans and Rudy style movie. Gene Hackman will be dearly missed, just like James Earl Jones. I'm going to say R.I.P. because I'm tired of doing the Latin Assassin's Creed thing. I'll get Requiescat and Pace to both. Since Vampire's Kiss was mentioned in the Running Man episode, I will note that I now have an office job with the Treasury Department, so I do reference Vampire's Kiss at work, particularly on the subject of filing financial forms and tax documents. I do just picture Scotty going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Where was I? Also, Zach nominating a movie where we see Kevin Bacon's dong tells me all I need to know about him. Crazy that Wild Things came out 4 days before I was born. This means the 27th anniversary of that movie is coming up. Yes, I'm turning 27 3 days after this episode drops. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I know Gab thought I was at least 6 to 7 years younger than I am in a previous episode. Learning that Dylan and Gab are at least 32. 32 to question mark. You'd never know.
Oh, could be older, but we're definitely not.
It means the age gap between us is roughly 5 years, which is, interesting. Before a hand grenade explodes in my brain, scrambling my thoughts any further, I'll end it here. Stay yappy, Scotty.
Aw, thanks, Scotty.
Thanks for your mail, Scotty. Thanks for your mail, peeps. Should we get back into Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence to death.
So this is it. This is the verdicts. Well, Gab,
we're at the verdicts.
I don't care how much you got to know. You go first, not me.
All right. Well, I think that first and foremost, the fucking soundtrack is just so good. I do not give a flying fuck about country music, about bluegrass music, about religious music for sure. But it is just a delight, top to bottom. Sunday morning, pop it in. You'll love every song better than the last. Now, in terms of a movie, I'm not like super familiar with the Odyssey. None of it was like bringing me back to my high school days of reading that. I may not have even read that in high school. Sorry if you're listening, high school English teacher. My high school English teacher texted me the other day. Is that something that ever happens to you?
No.
Okay, cool. I really enjoyed the watch. It is very challenging for me to say, do I love this movie or do I love the soundtrack? And the movie is a way to facilitate the viewing of the soundtrack. It didn't necessarily like tickle a need in my life where I'm like, wow, I think if somebody told me they'd never seen it, I'd probably sooner be upset if they told me they'd never heard the music. So I don't know. I go back and forth because I do really enjoy it. It's a fun, easy watch. Um, I don't want to get too in the weeds about what constitutes a movie to watch before you die, but that's kind of what's happening.
You
I'm
just
gonna
gotta
go ahead
feel
and
it.
I'm gonna trust my gut and say yes. It's not the top movie on this list, and others I think are better that have been forlorn, but I like it. What now? Tell me what you think. I'm itching to know.
I liked it. I liked a lot of aspects of it. I found some of it funny. I didn't find it very gut busting, but I really like all the actors involved. Like the thing about the Coen brothers is they always bring a good cast along with them. They
Hmm.
love a good character actor like a John Turturro, a Tim Blake Nelson. Those guys always pop up in their stuff. I did find myself longing for what I would call their better movies, like a Big Lebowski, like a Raising Arizona or a Fargo. So I think that I'm not going to call it a movie watch before you die, but it's
Yeah.
certainly very good. Like,
Yeah. I think I feel the same. I'm not trying to take it back or anything, but
yeah,
I agree with you. I'm not familiar with all their other work, so I can't say that. But I do feel like it's a really good movie that maybe is just short of the bar.
there's a lot of room in movies that are not movies to watch before you die. There's movies like The Thing, which I would hope is at the very height of our list of movies that were not ones to watch before you die. And
I
then there's
keep
a movie,
telling
don't
you.
even say anything about rewatching it. I don't want to hear it right now. And then there's a movie like Just Go With It, which is at the bottom of the list for like, I would rather die than rewatch that.
I mean, all right, relax. What was worse, that or the Lizzie McGuire movie? Three, two, one, the Lizzie
That,
McGuire
Just Go With
movie.
It. Just Go With It is worse.
Okay.
The Lizzie McGuire movie, I felt effort. I didn't feel any goddamn effort to just go. I feel like
Okay,
I
all
went
right,
on
that's
an
not why
Adam
we're here.
Sandler binge recently too. And you know what? When he tries, he does great stuff. Blended, it's actually fun. Uncut Gems, delightful. Like he can still do it.
I heard Uncut Gems is stressful.
Oh, it is the whole time.
I don't know that I could deal with that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Very good though. Needless to say though, I think, this was good. It wasn't great. It didn't rise to a level where I'm like, you have to watch it.
I agree.
Although I would
agree.
say, Man of Constant Sorrow, song to listen to before you die.
Song to listen to before you die. Let me tell you what else. I think my second favorite song is the song that the sirens sing. As I went down to the river to pray, son about them good old days and who should wait. So you know what I'm talking about. It's so good.
No, I did not revisit any other song on the soundtrack. I just looked up
Oh
Man
my
of Constant
God.
Sorrow.
What have you been doing? No, you got to listen to them all.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Spotify, you just type in Man of Constant Sorrow, just play that one.
I am a man of constant sorrow.
Someday
It's
at
so good.
karaoke, you could do the George Clooney parts. Me and Corey will just come in for those. I could
Thank
be
you.
Delmar.
Perfect. Done.
We
Holding you to that.
thought you was a toad.
Oh man. All right. Well, listen, you win some, you lose some. I'm glad you heard the song. If
Yeah.
anything, I'm glad you listened to it a couple more times.
Neither one of us feels at all cheated by this movie either. Like, considering we both saw it for the first time, not bad. Not bad. I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, so what's coming up?
Well, Gab, I get to think about that, don't I?
Okay, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Well then why don't you say the things that we say?
Well, thank you for listening to this podcast. We are a member of the Hall Pods Podcasting Network. You can find the link tree below for our friends in said network. You can also find below links for our link tree, links for our shop where we have shirts, we have sweatpants. You want to lounge around in some sweatpants that happen to have our logo on it? Why not? Why not? I would like to.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. What else do we got down there? You can email us at movieswatchbeforeyoudie@gmail.com. You can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/movies to watch. And you can just join the Saggy Bottom Boys and be a man of constant sorrow if you so wish. Gab, that's about all I got to say about that.
I like it. I like it. Dylan, it has been a delight. Thank you, listener. If you are not listening to Man of Constant Sorrow by the time this podcast is over, Dylan, will you play it? Will you play it for him here? Is that illegal?
Maybe I can play 5 seconds of it.
Okay, I'll take it.
Worst case, you'll get some John Turturro yodeling.
We thought you was a toad.